Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. So, the next 50, when neighbors stay. Following this year's theme of ICATT, the next 50, I've found it fit to pose the question, where would you like to see Trinidad and Tobago in the next 50 years? Not only as a country, but in education, inclusion, security, diversification. Today we will touch on the migrants, refugees coming from Venezuela, a phenomenon never seen before in the world, especially in the Americas, where a population is leaving their country not because of a war, but because of lack of food, electricity, medication, healthcare, security, jobs, etc. It is estimated that by the end of 2019, 5.7 million Venezuelans would have left their country, and that figure increases to 8 million by the end of 2020. It's a very big figure. Just think about it. The reflection of a country is how we treat our children, elderly, ill, animals. As a young nation, Trinidad and Tobago, we still have a long way to go. Trinidad and Tobago is a signatory of the UN Convention for Refugees since 1951. After 68 years, we still do not have a legislation for refugees. Have you asked yourselves what would be the lives of those refugees that are currently in Trinidad and Tobago? Will they go back? I don't think they will, with the country in turmoil. What will happen in the next 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years if these people are not educated? The scale of the growing migrant population is dizzying, rivaled in recent times only by the refugee crisis triggered by the Syrian civil war and the massive outmigration caused by the genocide against the Rohingya in Myanmar. Over 4 million Venezuelans left in 2015. That represented more than 12% of the Venezuelan population. At that rate of 250 Venezuelans fleeing per hour, there will be close to 6 million refugees by the end of 2019, and more than 7 million, close to 8 million by the end of 2020. The countries of Latin America and the Caribbean host the great majority of these refugees. If the Venezuelan diaspora isn't properly included into our local economies, societies, an effort that will require significant outside resources, the region is at risk for falling victim to xenophobia that has fueled divisive populism in much of the developed world in recent years. Okay, understanding migration. Throughout the history of civilization, the movement of people intra and extra-regionally has been documented. Migration results from various factors: social and economic improvements in one lifestyle. We want a better life. We apply to a certain country. We sell our assets in our country, and we move to the country we apply to. Then you have refugees caused by wars, religion, ethnic persecution, slavery. Migrants carry within their culture languages and skills which are valuable to the country that receives them. The Caribbean region is no stranger to migration, both forced, as in slavery, and autonomous, persons searching for a better life. The constant migration has resulted in a very enriched region in terms of languages, cultural experiences, and ethnic diversity. In more recent times, as a result of the humanitarian, political, and economical crisis which Venezuela has experienced, many have been forced to migrate to country within its borders. This is a case of Trinidad and Tobago, a mere 8 miles from the Venezuelan coastline, and a country with historical, cultural, and social ties dating 500 years. Migrants provide skilled labor, which is always needed for economic development, as well as introduction of populations that can satisfy the demands at the local market. Professional migrants have been exposed to different education systems for professional standards. They help bridge development gaps that may exist in the society due to the limited knowledge. From the financial aspect, services such as pension plans, private or public, increased banking services, revenue collection benefit from migration. as new populations can provide contributions when there is a gap in the working age contributors. Additionally, migrants require services and goods, which also provide opportunities for retailers. Okay, the most important part is education. At this time, we have a wave of migrants with and without passports. Passports that tell us that they do not belong here. They are not from here. We need to invest in the future of Trinidad and Tobago by ensuring that these migrants, particularly the children, are educated. This becomes a priority in order to avoid a future crisis. Migrant children today that are not taught or afforded the necessary resources to access proper education will be unable to reach their full potential as adults. As Albert Einstein said, in the midst of every crisis lies a great opportunity. At this time, we must shift our focus away from the crisis and look instead at the opportunities that we have before us as a nation. We could have a brain gain with the Venezuelan professionals coming here. Education is the vehicle that can be used as a catalyst to turn this apparent crisis into a watershed moment. The following are 4 points, which I would like to leave with you that are worth considering as we think ahead to the next 50. A huge number of migrants entering our shores from Venezuela are highly skilled professionals who require support. If channeled correctly, can become a great resource to our nation. We must tap into them so that they can become assets and not liabilities. 2, in order to help these migrants, it is imperative that we provide them with the access to purposeful educational opportunities, primarily the English language, to break the language barrier that hinders them socially and psychologically from integration. This one must become a priority. 3, children must be not overlooked, for if they are not provided proper access to education now, we will realize that in 1, 2, or 3 decades that we have failed them as a society, and we will be forced to face the social ills after the fact. It is important to note that there exists a unique situation before us as sufficient human resource is available to offer excellent language programs in Spanish, immersion throughout our nation, thereby encouraging the support the Spanish as a second language for 2020. Remember that? There are a number of programs that are being implemented currently by different NGOs in Trinidad and Tobago. English classes, guidance, as in where to find a doctor, where to grab a taxi, cultural inclusion through food, music, helping those that were registered find jobs. So it is happening. Should you wish to support any of the initiatives, I can give you my phone number and email address. So thank you for your time. Any questions? Many of you may ask what the Venezuelans are refugees or migrants. Can you put that slide up, please? You would see the difference on what is a migrant and what is a refugee. A migrant is a person who has chosen to leave their country to better their life elsewhere. So just say I pick up and I go and live in Canada. I have applied for the Canadian residency and I get there. Refugees do it either because of war, upheaval in their country, etc., etc. So there you have it. Any questions? No one? There you go. It's on migrants, a person who leave or flee their habitual residence to go to new places. And refugees do so because of upheaval, war, displacement, hunger, crime. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.